Can I thank? I'm a Chicagoan. At least my family's from Chicago. Die-hard Cubs fans. So can we please? I've always dreamed of doing that. Who here knows my band or the band that I'm in? Periphery. I see a lot of Periphery shirts, but I also see some people who may not have heard our music before, which is actually great. I love that. I love showing up to a place and having to win over, I mean, not even win over, just I guess playing to a crowd that doesn't know the music. So this is awesome, and we're brought together by an amazing store here. And I also want to tell a quick story for a second. Before I do, I'm going to say that this is my 2016 PRS SE model. They built this guitar for me. I mean, the first one was prototyped about 2 years ago, right after the 2015 US-made core model was put out. And they said, if this guitar does well, we'll go ahead and do an SE model. And it did well. The customer feedback was very positive. It was well received across the board. And they decided to do a more affordable model. And one of the, I guess, projects for us in terms of putting this one out was to make sure that all of the core specs were intact. Scale length, fretboard radius, the same exact pickups were on here. These are Seymour Duncan Alpha Omega pickups, the same string through body, same bridge. Basically all of these flagship specs that were on the 2015 model, we wanted to make sure they were on the 2016 model. And a lot of people asked me at the time, I actually got some questions from the people at PRS as well. Why are you so adamant on these specs? Because these were, in my mind, do or die specs. And this goes back to a sort of fetish that I have with specs. I guess I'll explain that a little bit. So, when I was a teenager, when I was first starting to learn guitar, I would go to a shop and I would pick up a neck, and I would pick up another neck, and I would pick up another neck, and I would compare. And I would say to myself, do I like the feel of this neck better? Do I like the feel of this fretboard better? How do the frets feel? I would analyze these really, really minute details of every single guitar, stuff that my friends weren't really doing. They just wanted to plug into a high gain amp and play Metallica riffs, which I also did, but I had this sort of mental project, was I would pick up a guitar and I would say, do I like the way this two-pneumatic bridge feels in my right hand? I pick up a Strat, do I like the way that feels in my hand? Which one do I like better? And I would go try out maybe a Super Strat, and I would see, do I like the bridge? Do I like the neck shape? Do I like the flatness of the neck? Do I like the stainless steel frets? Do I like nickel frets? I would pick up dozens of guitars at a guitar store, and they would hate me because I would never buy anything. My homework would just go to a store and then pick up guitar after guitar after guitar and become familiar with these really minute specs. And that gave me a very strong idea as I got older and I became a more mature player of what I liked as far as a guitar goes. So when the opportunity came a couple years ago for me to sit down with Paul and the whole family of PRS to develop my guitar, I had everything ready to go. You know, there was no thinking whatsoever. Everything was locked and loaded in my brain as far as what I wanted. And there are certain specs to me that I knew were right up my wheelhouse. But again, I would say that you should go to a store. If you're interested in doing the same thing and you want to learn what you prefer most about guitars and cut right to the chase, go to a store. Pick up a guitar, pick up 12 guitars and figure out what specs mean the most to you. This is kind of a perfect store to do it. I walked in here and I was blown away by all the Strats and PRS's, Tellys, and I hear there's a Les Paul in here too. Oh, there's a couple up there. Yeah, so when that conversation started, it was very, very easy to get this guitar done, and they knocked it out of the park. This is. It's a 25.5-inch scale length, which is a little bit longer than PRS's traditional 25-inch scale length. And I chose that because I tune pretty low for a traditional 6-string. So me and the Periphery guys, we tune down to C traditionally, drop C. So you have everything down a whole step and the 6-string down an additional whole step. And that results in this, if you were to do an open power chord. Pickup positions that I fell in love with when I picked up this guitar for the first time was the split position. So you do the coil split, which this guitar shifts with the coil split, and the pickup selector in the middle position. It inspired a song that I wrote last year, the basis of, called The Way the News Goes. That's in our last record that we put out, and the song was written, seriously, in a matter of minutes. Because, I don't know, do you ever pick up a guitar and you just have this stream of inspiration pour out of you? Be it 5 minutes, be it an hour, there's just something, there's a spark that's triggered because of the way an instrument feels. This happened with this guitar, and it was probably a 25-minute sort of hot streak that I had from picking up the guitar, and I put the pickup selector in the middle, and I started messing with this chord. I don't know what chord that is because I don't know music theory, but here's the chord. And I tried arpeggiating it. And then I had a second chord and I tried arpeggiating this one. And that went, sorry. And then that was the basis for the main riff. Song for you guys right now. questions about that song, or particular about the guitar that I'm playing, or anything like that? Speak up. Yeah.
So can Misha or Jake replicate that at all?
It's not that tough of a riff. Real, are you talking about the main riff in that song?
I imagine it is.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, I'll say it again for Facebook or whoever couldn't hear back there. We have 3 guitar players in our band, and he was asking if the other 2 can play that stuff just fine without any issue. And the answer is yes. One of the beautiful parts about the band that I'm in is we all have very, very, very different styles. And you would think that would work against us when it came to playing songs that we all wrote together. But in fact, I've gained so much of my influence from those guys, and I've changed parts about my style that I never thought would change because of those guys. So yeah, for sure. I mean, it all is dependent upon us practicing with each other and playing in the same room. But yeah, I mean, we have that song down pretty well, and those guys are able to win it just fine. Yeah.
What is, speaking of that, you guys' practice sort of routine now that you've got everyone pretty much listed at different places?
Yeah, so you're asking about our practice routine, about Periphery's practice routine. Yeah, I live in Austin, Texas. Jake lives in New York, and Misha lives in Washington, D.C. So there's a lot of Skyping, there's a lot of phone calls, a lot of conference calls, but mainly when we get together to tour, we'll get together for a week beforehand and do rehearsal then. But we don't do the old school idea of get together once a week. I remember when I was growing up, I would do band practice twice a week. And that was what we did, because you had to live on the same block, or else you weren't a band, you know what I mean? At least that's how it was when I was growing up, but now you can't do that anymore. Our bass player lives in England. England! So, I mean, there's a lot of planning that goes into us practicing. And then when we get together to actually write songs for a record, we do retreat style. For Periphery 3, we set aside a month to write the record together in a small room. 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen. Yeah, it was fun. And we ended up writing the record in about 2 weeks. Yeah. But that's again, goes back to what I was saying to you about the benefits of working in an environment like that. When you have musicians around you that inspire you, and have characteristics about how they play that inspire you and make you want to improve in those ways, it's the biggest perk ever. I saw a hand go back. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you prefer the baritone style of playing? Is that why you tune solo and 25-25 scale?
Yeah, okay, so you're asking about if I prefer a baritone style of playing. You know, when I pick up a guitar, I'm not really thinking baritone, or is this a baritone? To me, it's all about the tuning that you're in and what you want to do stylistically. And for this style of music, for what I like, on a 6-string, I found that generally 25.5 is the sweet spot. If you want to go as low as C, which I was just in, that's fine. What I really like about that scale length is once you go down to A. And I'll show you right now. That's A. So now that 6-string is down an additional 1.5. And this is about the lowest I will ever go on a 25.5-inch scale. If I were to go any lower, even just down to A flat, I would, because you start to get this like very flubby, unflattering, I won't use the curse word, unflattering term, sort of trait on that 6-string that I don't like. But this is sort of the sweet spot. This tuning actually is what is inspiring most of our new record. This drop A tuning, what it allows you to do is do these power chords, this traditional power chord shape, but get an octave chord. But then once you hit that low string, it sounds like a 7-string. It starts, so he's asking about the creative process, what it's like for us to get into a room together and begin that. It was a big learning process for me when we wrote our last record earlier this year. I had no ideas. I was tapped out. For the first time in my professional career, I was tapped out. I was in a really bad slump. Do we have people in here who write music at all? Okay. Do you guys know that feeling of being in a slump? You ever want to put down the guitar? No? I wish I had your work ethic. Because I do, and I think it's very human to want to put down the guitar if you're hitting a wall like that. But I was in kind of a bad place. We did it was a 6-week European tour in November, December. And I got home, and we were supposed to start recording early January. And I remember writing an email to the guys after that tour ended and said, guys, I don't know if I can, I'm tapped out, I have nothing. I haven't been in a writing mood. I haven't had any ideas compiled over this past tour. I have nothing. And they expressed kind of a similar sentiment to me. Like, I'm in a cold streak as well. But there was something that happened once we all got together. And it was this sort of pressure. It was like half of this pressure to impress the other guys. And it was also riding their momentum as well. But it was very, very collaborative. It was almost like feeding off of each other's creative energy and momentum. And this is why I always say, if you're in a band with somebody, or if you're trying to start a band, or if you're looking for a drummer, or a bass player, or a guitar player, or a singer, if they don't inspire you in any way, be it the way they speak, the way they're always on time, their style, the way they play drums, the way they pick, their lead playing skills, if they don't inspire you in some way, don't waste your time. That's the beauty about the band that I'm in, and every band that I look around that's sort of our peers, and I notice that about them, the more it makes sense to me. But that's kind of a prerequisite to being in a band. You have to be inspired by your band members, and if you're feeling pretty low in a creative place, you have to rely on them to pick you up. And that was the quickest we've ever written an album, ever. And it was the most I'd ever written on an album, ever, because of the creative momentum we had collectively. So, yeah. Thank you. So I'm going to play one more song for you guys in this tuning. And the song is called Prayer Position. We've never played this song live before. Periphery's never played it live, but I wanted to sort of bring it out in the clinic environment. I've done some clinics lately where I've played it, and it's a really fun, notey song in this tuning. So I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a heavy one.